Have you ever noticed how two specific animals seem to pop up everywhere in human history? I'm talking about the eagle and the serpent. I mean, they're on our flags, our money, woven deep into our oldest stories. So for this explainer, we're going to dive into a pretty wild theory from our source material that says this is no coincidence. It's actually the echo of an ancient cosmic conflict.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. From the Roman legions to the US dollar bill, from the symbol for medicine to our creation myths, these two creatures are locked in this symbolic dance. The big question the theory asks is, why? Why this constant pairing of the ruler of the skies and the master of the ground? What's going on here?
All right, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to follow a pretty clear path. First up, we'll look at what these symbols usually mean. Then, we'll get into the theory of an ancient family feud that might be the real origin story. After that, we'll trace its echoes through myths all over the world, see how it actually played out in human history, and finally, ask what this ancient war might mean for us right here, right now.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Before we get into any grand cosmic theories, we've got to understand the language of these symbols. What do the eagle and the serpent even represent on their own? In this slide, this really gets to the heart of the tension. Just look at the split here. The eagle is all about the external world. We're talking power, dominance, freedom from things. But the serpent, that represents the internal world, wisdom, life force, spiritual awakening. So, one is about conquering the world outside you, and the other is about understanding the world inside you. This clash is the key to the entire theory. So how did these two opposite ideas get so tangled up? Well, according to the source material, it wasn't just some random cultural thing. The theory points to a very specific fight, a conflict that kicked off thousands and thousands of years ago in ancient Mesopotamia.
And the key players in this whole drama are the Anunnaki. The source describes them as these beings from the heavens found in ancient Sumerian texts. The theory goes that a massive conflict within this group was so huge that its symbols, the eagle and the serpent, got stamped onto human culture and have been playing out ever since.
So it all boils down to this division. The source points to two warring brothers. Enlil, whose family took the eagle as their symbol, represented here by his son Ninurta. And on the other side, you've got Enki, whose family was tied to the serpent, represented by his son Ningishzida. And this wasn't just some minor squabble, it was a deep, bitter feud that, as the theory goes, humanity basically inherited. Now, if a conflict like that really happened, you'd expect to see its story pop up in other places, right? It wouldn't just stay in one spot. Well, let's jump into our next section and see how this symbolic feud seems to echo through some of the world's biggest mythologies.
And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The pattern is everywhere. Let's walk through it. In Hindu myths, you've got the eagle-like Garuda constantly battling the serpentine Naga. Then in Egypt, it gets really interesting. The falcon god Ra fights the chaos serpent Epep, but at the same time, the protective cobra goddess Wadjet is literally on his crown. So you have both war and reverence at the same time. And in Norse stories, you get this perfect picture of cosmic opposites. An eagle at the top of the world tree, Yggdrasil, and the serpent Nidogr gnawing at its roots, forever locked in conversation. You just can't deny the pattern.
Okay, now when we get to Christianity, the symbolism gets even more tangled. The source points out a major tension in how the serpent, specifically, is shown, and it creates this real symbolic confusion.
So on the one hand, you have this. The book of Revelation flat out says the serpent is the ultimate evil, calling him that mighty serpent, the dragon Satan. And that imagery has had a huge influence on Western culture, basically making the snake the poster child for temptation and evil.
But then, you get this completely opposite instruction from Jesus himself to be wise as serpents. So, which is it? Is the serpent pure evil, or is it a model for wisdom? This exact contradiction is a huge part of the source's theory that the original meaning of the symbol has been deliberately twisted over the centuries. Okay, so we've seen the symbols in myths and stories. But did this conflict ever spill over into the real world? Into the world of human empires and nations? Let's take a look at how this symbolic war may have played out right here on Earth.
First, let's head to Mesoamerica, where we find something totally unique. Here, the eagle and the serpent weren't at war at all. In fact, they were fused into one incredibly powerful being, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. This god represented a perfect balance of the eagle's power from the sky and the serpent's wisdom of the earth. It was a union of the two forces. But this balance, this amazing symbol of unity, it wasn't meant to last. The arrival of European conquerors brought with them a very, very different way of seeing the world, one where the eagle and the serpent were definitely not in harmony. And the result of that clash is immortalized on the modern flag of Mexico. The unified feathered serpent was totally replaced by a symbol of complete domination, the eagle standing on a cactus, devouring the snake. It is such a stark, visual reminder of this ancient conflict playing out in human history, with one side totally conquering the other.
And the source brings up another huge, if controversial, example, the epic clash between Rome and Egypt. You had Rome, with its legions marching under the banner of the eagle, the Aquila, and then you had Egypt, ruled by pharaohs who wore the cobra, the wadjet, on their crowns. The theory suggests their conflict was just another chapter in this ancient war, and it all came to a head with what it calls a profound act of symbolic violence. The eagle of Rome under Julius Caesar, burning the great library of Alexandria, the ultimate treasure chest of the serpent's wisdom.
So all of this brings us to our final, and maybe the most important part of this whole thing. What does this ancient symbolic war have to do with us now? How does this legacy of division affect the world we live in, and maybe even the way we think? Well, the source material leaves us with this really provocative idea that this symbolic split has created a fundamental imbalance in humanity. Cultures that actually managed to unify the two, like the Mesoamericans with their feathered serpent, achieved a balance of both power and wisdom. But when the symbols are split, you get eagle cultures that are powerful but maybe a bit war-hungry, and you get serpent cultures that have wisdom but are seen as weak, and, well, they end up getting conquered. It's like we're forced to choose, power without wisdom or wisdom without power. And so we end where the source ends, with a question that just kind of hangs in the air. If this ancient feud has been playing out for thousands of years, shaping our myths, our empires, and maybe even our own inner conflicts, the ultimate question is, can we be the ones to finally unify them? Can we learn to integrate the eagle's power with the serpent's wisdom and finally end this war, not just on our flags, but maybe inside ourselves?